Welcome to the S.J. Child Show, where a little bit of knowledge can turn fear into understanding. Enjoy the show. Hi, and thanks for joining the S.J. Child Show. Today, I am really excited to bring Christian Armstrong. I stalked Christian's LinkedIn account over this last few months, and he attended the 1 in 36 mix and was an amazing speaker with so much value and just inspiring. I'm really excited to have him join me here today. It's going to be a really great conversation. So get comfortable and ready to just enjoy this. Christian, thanks so much for being here today.
Hey, Sarah, I really appreciate this. Thank you too.
Yeah, it's wonderful to catch up with you and this time get to, spend a little bit more time, dive a little deeper and really just kind of explore your story. And why don't we start out with that by just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about yourself, what brought you here?
Absolutely. So, I'm an emerging speaker who talks about autism and really how to succeed with autism. Because I'm autistic, diagnosed with autism at a young age. I think it was around 7 years old, and I was told that I couldn't do a lot of things that a lot of people would consider successful today. Like I was, when I was in the doctor's office with my family, I was told that doctors said I wouldn't be able to graduate high school, go to university, get my own driver's license, whatever I really wanted to do, like for a profession. They said, your kid probably won't get married to my parents. He won't just all these things, like even team sports. I wanted to play football, and the doctor said, no, your son, because he's autistic, get him involved with swimming and equestrian, like riding horses. I didn't want to do any of that. It just did not interest me. And I think you got to remember, because I was trying to play devil's advocate to somewhat, but I used that story to just say I've proved people wrong, doctors wrong, haters wrong, and I'm saying so can you, who's ever listening on this show. Anybody can do something they set their mind to. But you got to remember, back then was that was about in 2001 when I was diagnosed with autism. Is not a lot of people talked about the new ideas and gifts about autism. That was back when, if someone was diagnosed with autism back in late 1900s, early 2000s, it was, okay, you're limited. Like, you're disabled, you can't do anything. Like, it was all negative. You remember that a bit at
Oh,
all,
yeah.
sir?
Yeah. I mean, our experience didn't really start until about 2010. So it was a little bit later, but same thing. And our son has shown us a million different things he can progress in that was once known, that he would just spin circles or just hum in a living room. And, now he studies 130 languages and he may not speak and as eloquently as his mom, but that's not his job to have anyways, so that's okay. But at the
Yeah.
same time, we as parents, and I don't know if it's due to my husband's already experience with, he had a sister with Down syndrome, so he has this like innate heart and this patience with the special needs community. And so I think that in that, it also helped me to want to know, well, what's the best thing we can do rather than, like you said, listen to the fortune tellers, those doctors who, for what reason, I do not understand. And I mean, yeah, maybe for some families, that's great to give them the lowest expectation to be able to surpass. But really, how can we and why would we think that these kids, just like yourself, couldn't understand what was going on, couldn't hear the words that were being spoken about them? And how do you then gain your own empowerment, maybe to prove them wrong, right? Yeah, it's crazy.
Right. Well, for many years, believe it or not, because I talk so highly about autism, and I do advocate for a lot of children and families who get told who are limited because of their autism, or whatever their backstory and their diagnosis is. I Before now, I was most of my life very depressed, actually, with the idea of being autistic. I would still try and prove everybody wrong and say I'm capable. I would still say yes, I can, but on the inside, I was very hurting. Very, I played the comparison game a lot in sports and in elementary, middle, high school, all that stuff, even a little bit in university too. It was, oh, look at what they can do. Look at what they can do. And here's me not being able to understand something that I'm kicking myself because, on the inside, you just don't feel good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Where that could be a very hard thing. I saw multiple counselors throughout my life, and just it felt like this spinning circle of I'm not good enough, this little devil on his shoulder saying nobody likes you, when really that's not true. I think it's the brain processing information differently than what I guess you could say the average person is nowadays in society. And I think what really stuck with me to, I think just growing older, maturing a little bit, and I think even getting here on like social media and seeing all the different abilities of what um, autistic individuals can do with their gifts, and then looking at someone like me, it really puts a new perspective in your mind and just saying, okay, it's not all that bad. If you look at autism from a new lens and a new way, and just saying, well, we're not bad. We learn differently, and that's okay. And I think that's what really got me out of the depression stage in my life and not spinning through circles over and over is build your community, people who support you, people who see you as someone who is not limited. Build a community where someone sees you as, yes, you are capable, because the mindset is a huge thing. It's huge. And if we build our community around people who just say, I don't know, I don't think you can, well, then it's very hard to get yourself sometimes out of funks, you could say sometimes, where that, and of course, prove the haters wrong, yes, but also it's a balance. Prove the haters wrong with the people who are negative, but also support yourself with a positive community.
Mm-hmm. And there's so much to be said about community. And I think that with the kind of emergence in social media, in television, in society of, well, let's take another look at autism. And I love that all these advocates are standing up and saying, well, wait, look at me. I'm successful. Like, my son, brother, whatever, anything, might have more challenges or more supports necessary, but it absolutely does not negate for the fact that they have purpose and uh, limitless abilities that we do not yet know. And I think it's so fascinating because you were going through your own path, and growing up with this knowledge. And in our case, I mean, for our children, they have been diagnosed as children, so they'll take that same path. But for my husband and I, we found out as adults. So have been able to kind of take the information and look back and say, wow, people really missed it there. Wow, this was really misunderstood. And at the same time, now kind of focus on our children saying, okay, well, we understand now that this evolution of the brain is real and it's happening and it's growing and people are starting to see. In fact, it's funny because it was maybe like 6 years ago that I said that to my husband. I'm like, I think this is like the evolution of the brain. That's what it feels like to me. And I was literally on Google this morning and there is uh, article about the brain is evolving to become more with supercomputer, qualities or something. And I was just like, yes, thank you. Thank you. Check. And it doesn't mean it doesn't. The thing about brains is that and bodies and everything in general, if you have one standard thing and you add anything different or something else happens, you can't expect the same things to happen. Like they're going to be different. Things are going to be different. So when we
Oh,
look
for
at,
sure.
all of the things over the last 60 years that it might have changed even environmentally, we're going to have changed just like all of the animals that have evolved. Like it's funny that people just don't see that to begin with, right? And
Right.
it's just such a natural thing that's always occurring. But back to like how society has really treated it and looked at things. I mean, I love the growth that it's taking, but there is still so much work that needs to be done. Tell us
Right.
about what you're doing now and kind of what that looks like for your advocacy and how that's grown.
Right. So my speaking business, believe it or not, all started with me like talking with some friends, and before I was even doing this on social media. And long story short, I did mostly acting and all that before I came into speaking. So I have a theater background, and a friend of mine or a couple friends said, your motivational messages are very empowering. They said, have you ever thought of making like TikTok or Instagram videos? And I said, yeah, that might be fun. Like, uh, so, and of course, I'll be honest, social media and technology, I'm really bad at it. I kind of have to go with the flow and learn from others. So I was pretty nervous going into it, where my first video, it wasn't that great like most, but the cool thing about it is I took the small wins out of it and say, okay, well, that was my first video. I got in front of the camera. There's one. Number two, I did have a couple points in my message where it really did speak to others who watched the video on social media, where that kind of sparked something and interest in me where it's like, okay, well, let's make a second, third, or a fourth video and let's try it again. And of course, people watching it, like my friends, family, strangers said, I really love your videos. They said, maybe if you want to make them better, try this. Try this. And I would ask them other questions. Okay, how would I do this? And they would give me tips or show me videos or they'd walk me through it. And then of course those videos get better and better. And then I get on all these other different social media accounts. And then it was cluing into me that I want to be a speaker. Like I want to be a public speaker, and I started contacting high schools and middle schools, and I've done about 4 or 5 gigs so far, and more to come. Where
Yeah.
it's uh, it's amazing how my journey can go from just like let's try and make one video to now it's from
Yeah.
actor to speaker to. And the thing about this is acting's not done. I never quit acting. It's kind of like, okay, I do acting and speaking now. And the cool thing is, it's not just about the entertainment side. It's I get to change lives, where I go into schools and so many kids and even teachers have came up to me after my speech or even in my Q&A questions and answers, and they said, I never thought of autism like that. Like you open up so many perspectives and ideas because people have limited us who have autism for so long. And now that you coming in and saying, no, you learn differently. You have gifts that others maybe don't have, that you have, where it's really just a whole new mindset. I say with the old school mindset, I never bash old school. Like, I'm not saying old school mindsets are bad, but they also had a very cookie cutter mindset going into
The
the
script. Yeah.
back in the day. They said, this is how it is, this is what we've been taught, and that's it.
Mm,
It's like, but now we've come in here, like myself and yourself, and saying, well, what about this idea? What about that perspective?
mm,
And every you got kind of got all these like different opinions saying, well, no, and some people saying, oh, I'll consider it. But the way I look at it is, I try and take something from the old school generation and also something from the new school generation. Too many people these days always want to pick a side. They
yeah.
want to say, I'm old school. And then someone says, no, I'm new school. Here's the thing I want to encourage. Um, People in old school say that new school is too sensitive. I disagree. I think I think in a lot of ways that the new school, for most part, the way people are here now today, it's we're taking a stand and saying, I feel this way. And the fact that you're telling me I can't feel this way is not okay because I'm allowed to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
with old school, they say, well, we need to pull up our big boy shorts or our big girl pants
Mhm.
and get to work. Some people in the new school say, I don't want to, so I'm just going to be lazy and sit on the couch. With I'm not saying everybody, but it's like work hard, tell people how you feel. It's okay to be sensitive, you
Yeah.
know, get like old school, get up, keep going, don't quit. I take that. It's why can't we take sorry, I think you hear an ambulance
Oh,
behind
no
me.
worries.
But the old school and new school ideas, why can't we mesh them
Yeah.
together and say, this is a new perspective that we have molded together, that we're not sticking to one side. We're open to a lot of new sides. And I think that's so powerful about what I do
Yeah.
is this is the new era of autism,
I
what
love
I hope to
that,
be.
Christian. And it's so true because there's value from both sides that can be taken. There's that, yeah, that good, strong work ethic and do what, discipline and everything. But at the same time, there was that lack of sensitivity that caused millions and millions of traumatic experiences. And those people rose up and said, no, we're not. We don't want to see this other generation go through all of the trauma. Why? What for? Let's embrace the good in both. I agree. And move into an I love what you said, a new era of autism. Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Tell us
The
about like what the supports looked like. I know we're going to go backwards a little, but what did the supports look like for you after that, like in school growing up and with your family?
so in school growing up was I think one of the harder points in my life where it in kindergarten and like preschool, elementary school, it was would you believe me if I told you that I wasn't able to look at my own mother and father in the eye when I was like a couple years old?
Yeah.
Like, I would curl up into the fetal position. I maybe if anything, if you take it as a small win, I would say one word. Um, Doctors actually thought I was nonverbal,
Mm.
and maybe I was. I can't remember, but take it from that early on stage, and in school, it was I was too nervous, too scared to play with anyone at recess. People would have to approach me, certain kids, certain teachers. And the cool thing and moment about that is I had some great EAs and learning assistant teachers who would work with me one on one, who would do role playing with me and say, picture I'm the student and you're Christian and you come up and pretend you're asking them for me to play at recess. So that really did help. And, teachers, I remember in grade three, especially specifically, my teacher, he wanted to see me succeed. And he would say, okay, I'm going to make like a certain goal for you. He said, Christian, each day, once a day at lunch or recess, you pick just throughout the day, you talk to one student, just one. And it could be something very short, very simple. And yes, I didn't do it some days. I will admit I did sleep out because I was too scared. But there was a lot of the days where I did stick true to that goal and true to that word, where it was something as simple as, hey, what are you playing? What are you doing? Oh, we're playing dodgeball, for example. Do you need an extra guy to like, can I play? Something as simple as that. And of course, then people would start to see, okay, Christian wants to play. He's not that kid who used to sit on the side. He wants to, even if he's not loud or vocal or, you know, now they say we need an extra person. Let's go ask Christian. And that slowly transitions into like, because I was still shy for pretty much my whole elementary, middle school, high school years, but it grew to that point where teachers and students said, "Okay, he has a voice. He We know who he is and how he's feeling because before in kindergarten, nobody really knew who I was."
Mm.
So I think for a lot of families going into this and hearing this message, my biggest encouragement and advice would say start small, like I did, and then get bigger
Yeah.
because you're not going to get it all in one go. Like I would say, even if it's as simple as saying, I want you to make eye contact for 2 or 3 seconds. Let's start with that for 1 week. Or I want you to at least say maybe even just good morning to your teacher, a simple good morning or something like that. Because those small steps really helped me as a kid. Because now, believe it or not, like I'm a diehard sports fan. I going from that to get like football and hockey games now, like I'm the loud one in the stands now. Can you believe that? Like
I
like
love it.
when I was 7 years old, I remember this. My father told me this. He says, I was inviting you to a hockey game, my dad told me, and you would rather stay home and watch Shrek. And I'm kicking myself now at 29 years old. I'd say, why would I ever choose that option over going to a live hockey game?
How funny.
But
Do
it's
you
been
do you
true.
remember, do you have any kind of like instance or like memory of maybe when your your perspective shifted, when you wanted to be more active with the people around you, when you decided it was your choice and not just the therapy and the goals other people were setting for you? When do you
Mhm.
think that changed? Was there like anything you can remember?
I, from the top of my head, the biggest thing was it was it was somewhere in elementary school. It wasn't in the early years of elementary school, like kindergarten, grade one, grade two. I think it was within maybe like grade three, grade four, like when they started having goals for me to say talk to these couple students. When I started doing those goals, it was when I came to my parents saying I want to play tackle football.
Mm.
And that's when my parents went to the doctors and the doctors basically told them specifically, they were very firm, do not put your son in football, you will regret this.
Oh,
and of course it was, he wants to play, he's going to play. So I did go and play. And you know I remember the first 2 years of football, like especially the first year, in a way I did regret it because
you've never been hit so many times.
yeah. Well, it was a lot of just with autism, it's like different brain, different process. It's the sensitivity of going on and processing. Okay, well, I'm not maybe as vocal. I'm not, what they say, and I was scared to be hit and
Mm.
scared to make the tackle.
Yeah.
Where that really held me back for a few years in football, for a lot of it, where I'd hear constantly in football, do not be afraid to hit, do not be afraid to hit, but I couldn't help it.
Yeah. It's like you
And
have to get over that practice, 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 right?
yeah, and it's just the cool thing about that though is take that story first year, second year, where afraid to hit, afraid to be hit, and I was a receiver. I was on the offense for a lot of my years, and it was I would learn the basics because before I didn't know how to catch a football. Like I learned like okay, anywhere above the belly button, you know, diamond shape, like through the diamond, anywhere below the belly button, put your two pinkies together and catch it like this. Where a lot of people, believe it or not, in football, I don't know if you would know this.
I don't know any of it.
A lot of people they're trying to catch it like this or like
Okay.
all over the place with their
Yeah.
hands. For me, it was the simple of I just need to be taught like this or like this, anywhere above or below the belly button. And for the first year, second year, like I said, probably one of the worst receivers on the team. But I know for me, someone like autism or anybody with autism, anybody who sets their mind to something, it does wonders. Like people with autism, they really, when they have their mind focused, they really zero in and they just go for it.
Yeah.
Where I wanted to be a great receiver, where take year one to I think it was year four, I became one of the best receivers on the team because I really worked at it. And I became like the award after this football year. I got the award of most improved player
Wow.
because
Congratulations.
a lot of I think a lot of the teammates considered me a write-off after the first year, where
Yeah.
it was just, oh, this kid has autism. He's a nice kid, but he just won't make it. But it's a lot of back to the whole doctors back in my year getting diagnosed. I'm going to prove every single one of my teammates wrong that I am capable, where I can make a catch. I can make a big 40-yard long gain on a catch. I can get involved with the defense, the special teams. And I did all that. Where because I had this passion for football. I love the game of football. Where yes, it was sensitivities like, oh, I don't know, getting hit, making the tackle, but it didn't change my love for the game. It didn't change how I still wanted to be the best and go do something with that passion. It was just a kind of matter of I'm scared and people understand that, but they also know that I don't back down from a challenge.
What's your view of your teammates and them to you? How did that change over time? Did you get that camaraderie with them, or did you ever desire for it at all?
I would say over the years, my teammates really respected me as a person, like because I would say if I had to take my best guess right now off the top of my head, if you were to ask any one of them, they say, who was Christian Armstrong as a football player to you? They'd probably say loyal, hardworking, and would do anything for his teammate.
I love that.
It's like because yeah, sure, I became one of the better receivers on the team. There was probably guys who were more talented than I am on the field, um, but I don't think anybody could say that those talented players were more of a team guy than I was.
Yeah,
It's you want those team guys who would do anything for their team, and I was that guy.
I love that. Do you think you got those values from like your family, or where did you get those values of loyalty and those types of things?
Definitely, I would say my family because my family is very loving, trustworthy, puts people first, and that's kind of where I got this from. Is that's why I always preach on autism. It's you're going to say we're limited. You're going to say that we can't. Well, I always say, guess what? Um, Loving others, um, bending over backwards for others, and putting other people first. You can't always teach that.
Yes.
Where a lot of people will say, "Oh, look at what he can do. He has this talent. He has this talent." Yeah, but is he a self-centered person, or is she a self-centered person? Or because maybe if they're that person or that type of people, I would rather take the person who loves more and who's more of a team player than who doesn't have as much of the talent you because that's what makes a team. The talent is I.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I always go back to autism is community. Autism is supporting one another. And to me, that's one of the greatest gifts anyone could ever have.
This is a beautiful segue to what I want to talk about next, and that is your relationship, and you're married. Let's talk about that and how, especially for parents or families that are new to a diagnosis, or, are just gaining knowledge and getting the inspiration from you today in this conversation. What did that look like in dating and finding that one that you would continue the rest of your life with?
It was a lot of before I even got married. It was a lot of this self-doubt of, I don't know if a woman would want to settle down with me because, like, settling down with someone with autism can be nerve-wracking or scary for a lot of people. And, for a lot of years, I don't blame my parents for this. They even were wondering and asking questions to themselves, like, is our son going to get married? Because even even they are kind of like, he doesn't always understand cues in a marriage, and sometimes I don't. But I think it's always that backbone of telling myself, yes, I can, and believing in myself, where it kind of went from when I met the person who I'm married to now. It was a lot of it was open, honest. Like, a lot of doctors might say, Christian, you're not marriage material. But I would always say, well, marriage is an open communication, where if I tell my wife and say, this is who I am, this is how my brain works, and can you work around it? Could you tell me what I'm doing that's making you upset, for example, or can you compromise with me if this is the way who I am, who you are? It's because I would say, if they don't like you for your autism, then they're not, you could argue that's not marriage material either.
Mm-hmm.
If someone doesn't like you for your autism, then how is that marriage material anywhere less than to, I'm autistic?
Yeah.
It's, I think that's, I know on another note, with when people say, disability, I always, because I sometimes when I post these videos online, I talk about disability. I say autism is a different way of learning, and people will come and say disability isn't a bad thing, and I and I would always respond back, I never said it wasn't. Like, people always like to put words in my mouth sometimes,
Isn't
where
that the truth?
it's it's just, I think, like, my goal as a speaker is to not have a cookie cutter mindset, but to share an open and new perspective to others and say, consider this about autism, consider this about society, rather than just stooping to the standards and believing what society always tells you. Is what if, because society always says, this is what disability is, this is what disability is, here's how it is, that's what a disability is. Now, consider this. I know this might sound ridiculous for some people, but if you don't understand sports like I do, if you have no idea what's going on in the game, would that maybe not be considered a disability from a sports person's perspective? Or if you don't know how to change a car on a tire, according to a mechanic, he might say, well, how do you not know how to do that? That's so easy. Well, no, 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 no. That's easy for you, not for others. If if you're a nurse and you know how to do all these things in the hospital, and someone's like, that's insane, that's, nobody could ever do that, that's way too hard, and a nurse would say, what are you talking about, that's easy. It's easy for them, not for someone else. People, in my opinion, in the workplace need to stop saying, oh, that's easy. Here's the thing, easy is only easy for someone who understands it. Common sense is sometimes a made up word in society. Oh, it's just common sense. What, common sense for you?
Mm-hmm.
Or common sense for everyone? Or talent for someone, or talent for someone else? It depends on the person or the family or the community. Like, I just think, why rather than making a comment of saying it's so easy, wouldn't it just be easier to say, let me explain it to you, or let me help you, or let me support you? Like,
Yeah.
we're we're a lot. Some people are just so disrespectful. Like, imagine what this world would be if we were just all supportive and all loving. We wouldn't.
I will have, let's keep working towards it, right?
But I don't. That's where I get backtrack to disability. Disability, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I can understand why people say autism is a disability. Maybe it is, probably it is. I have no idea. That's what we've been told from the beginning with autism. All I'm saying is, what if it's not? Maybe it's a disability, but what if it's not? What if we just look at it from a new ability and a different way of learning? If we can create that new perspective and that new mindset and that new understanding, maybe, just maybe, we can believe in people with autism more, and maybe the autism acceptance will be even bigger than it already is.
Mm.
Because I'm not saying, like, for others, they'll say, and I'm not saying they're not, because I have no idea. I don't know everybody. I'm just coming from an outsider's perspective. A lot of people will say, well, what are you talking about? I have autism acceptance. I have autism awareness. Maybe they do, but at the same time, those some people that I have seen who say I have autism acceptance will look at someone who has autism and still say, look at them. You just said you have autism acceptance.
Going
So
back on your word. No, isn't that the truth? And I'm not sure who said it, but I just thought of a quote or a saying, autism is a disability to the point it disables someone. And that's individual. That's so individualized. It's, the point I'm autistic and it looks so much different than my son who has so many more support needs and challenges. But he also has global developmental delay, which gives way to that path that he's on differently than mine. And I think that that's so important to understand in that now we're talking about of autism like kind of as a whole, and it's so hard for people that don't have the education or the understanding to see someone who might be non-speaking yet versus someone who, like you and I, have created speaker event, or we're doing speaking and they're like, what? That doesn't even make sense to me. How can this be? How can this be? So
yeah,
I think that it's really great to also share that, you know, every individual is on their own journey and that looks different whether you grow up, with a learning disability or whether you grow up with a physical ailment or something that's different than others. It only um is that person's journey and we can only gain that knowledge from them sharing their stories, from them expressing their experiences and how we can do better as a society to support all of the different ideas. But giving these new perspectives and ideas and sharing these things is so important because I think, like you had said, with the kind of the old school, new school idea to hide everything, shame, hide, guilt, all of the things that were in the past that were of like so many generations ago that aren't acceptable today. Like we're not hiding our children, we're not institutionalizing our 5-year-old who has total possibilities, or to each family, if there's a family who chooses to medicate, please do all of the research possible that you absolutely can. But for some families, that's their priority and that's their intention. And it's not for anyone to say that it's wrong or it's bad or it shouldn't, it's everybody's own experience. And that's how we're going to gain all of the knowledge to move forward in the future to say that these things, yeah, this has happened for 20 years and it hasn't been going so good. So let's change that. And it's not until we have these time periods of learning and seeing all of these expressions of experiences that we'll be able to gain the knowledge to change things in the future. Just like, stop me if I'm wrong and if this is crazy, but why wouldn't they take the time during COVID when nobody was in school to change the school system, to realize that they've been working on this 100-year-old system and there's nobody in school at this present 2-year period? They could have taken that opportunity to just flip it completely and be like, when schools get back in, we're going to do these things instead. We're going to focus on people's interests. We're going to focus on their strengths. We're going to create, powerful people based on the things that they love and the strengths we can get behind. And then we're going to help them with whatever challenges they have with those. But by just like demanding, systemizations and testing scores, and that doesn't bring like fulfilling people to society.
Yeah. No, I always said, like I said in one of my messages recently when I was presenting at a high school, I I said I said to teachers, like, I don't know if a lot of you are doing this already, or because one of them said, what do you recommend for us teachers to see every student and even kids who are on the autistic spectrum? Like, how do we see everyone succeed? And I simply said, get to know your students better. I said, what makes them tick? What makes them excited? Like, what are their hobbies outside of school? And like that simple stuff, because when I first got into school, and a lot of teachers are thinking, how do we work with this kid? Like, he doesn't understand the way we're teaching. One of the learning assistance teachers, she got to know me, and she says, Christian's really into sports. If I start talking hockey or football with him, and like, let's say, for example, if we're doing math in a subject, and I could translate that math into football or hockey statistics, he's going to start to get more interested in the subject, and he's going to start to process it more. But if you just tell me straight math numbers, why would I care? Because math, history, science, cooking class, automotive class, it's different from everyone, and not every subject in school has to be done the same.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife's a teacher right now, just got into it, and I love it because I asked her, and she says that I'm teaching, like, of course, what the curriculum is, because I have to teach the curriculum, but I'm teaching based off what I think is important,
Yeah.
and also helping other students' needs and how the way they learn too. And that's brilliant, because she actually told me recently too that not many teachers uh, use textbooks anymore in school. And I got excited. I said, really? I said, that's all they used when I was in school, is
Yeah.
textbooks. And I didn't learn through textbooks whatsoever. It didn't stick, but that's because I don't learn through textbooks. I don't learn through verbal or anything. I learn through visuals and hands-on
Yeah.
as an individual. And when I heard that, I was like, let's go. We're getting somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. No, the more we can embrace like the child's way of learning, the better. I mean, any child, neurotypical, neurodiverse, it doesn't matter. Like the more we focus on the way that they're learning, like that's how we kind of make a difference, is how we can teach children. So it's has to be done, but it's like back to that simple thing, yet it's easy sounding, right? Yet so
Yeah.
complicated to like actually put into tangible practice. So, yeah, I really hope that in just like podcasting and everything, that they can start to hear these ideas, and people will be passionate enough like you and I to say, no, we're making those changes. This is going to be so much better for the future of society in a whole if we start to make these positive changes. we know what's already happened. We know how the things have already played out. Like that's where we start to make those shifts in our perspectives and our yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. What are some ways that you see um autism kind of shifting the perspectives in the world as a whole, like in acting, for example?
Right. I think what I've noticed recently is um, we're making it more acceptable for a lot of different professions or what people want to get into. Like in teaching, for example, what I've heard now is they're actually they have more awareness with teachers and learning assistants where they might have extra support to work with a student one-on-one, which I was fortunate to have. Or, on social media now, we're letting kids with autism or their parents or moms share their story. We didn't get to hear their story for the longest time, but now we're starting to get to know all because of social media. We're actually starting to understand autism better. But before social media, it was like we had no idea about all these tics and the way they communicate because we didn't understand it more. But even with sports, like back when I was a kid, it's you told someone, "Hey, this kid's autistic. He's coming in." Back then, it was kind of like, "Ah, crap, here we go again." That was what it was like back then. Now maybe it still is in some way, but it was kind of like, okay, well, now if someone has autism, they're coming in to play football, hockey, soccer, you name it, they might have a coach who is designated to train with that player one on one, where it's kind of like, okay, this is scary. Let me work up with you before you get into the scrimmage with the rest of the team. It's We're making it more acceptable for to see kids succeed with autism. And that's what I always teach. I want to see kids succeed. And that's why I always say, you want to see kids succeed with autism? It's okay to ask questions. Because the more you ask, the better answers you're going to get from different opinions and different people. Um, you know, refrain from using the word I can't because it's a mindset game. You keep telling yourself you can't, you probably won't. Always in every situation say, like I say, yes, I can. Yes, you can. It may take 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years for you to get that. But if you keep working at it, you'll get there eventually. I always say with, going back to disability, like I said, disability, I'm not saying disability is a bad thing. Like I said, maybe it is a disability, and that's okay too. I, I just go off new perspective. And when I want to encourage parents who have kids with autism who are listening to this, or maybe you're listening to this and you don't have autism or to autism. Like, if you want to say disability, cool, but see the best in others who have autism. Like, disability, okay, fair enough, but yes, you can. If they say you can't achieve this because of their autism, they're wrong. It's going to be a hurdle for you because of your disability, but keep working at it because you are capable just as much as anyone else. You just need a different tactic and a different learning strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's okay. The best way to for anyone listening to this to relate to autism is, have you ever been told that you can't do something? Have you ever been told that you don't fit in your social circle because you may be considered weird or awkward or crazy? Have you ever been told that your dream is ridiculous or unachievable? Well, here's the story behind that. Every single kid on the autistic spectrum basically is told that every single day. They've been adapted to that, unfortunately. So if you've been told that and you're not on the autistic spectrum, that's how you can relate to someone with autism, because that hurt, that person on the spectrum feels that pain, you can relate to that pain.
Mm.
So that's how you can relate to autism.
That is so true. And that's really tangible for everyone in society. Everybody at some point has been through those moments where they're not they feel that smallness or that lack of connection with people around them. And goes back to, again, finding and creating, even if you don't have it, those communities for yourself and for your family, for your friends, for your churches, communities, whatever you need to really like come together and have a better understanding of how to support one another, and in our situation, I think in the beginning of our journey, it was, how can I help these children better understand my children? I wrote children's books. Is like the best way to enter their world is through their interests. Now, just like you said, social media, it's like this really super fine line of two super dangerous and super like positive way that we're able to show up, communicate with others, share our experiences with hundreds of thousands, millions of people. And not only that, but those millions of people sharing their experiences. It's like really great for the perspective of what autism is like around the world, since, we're coming from two different countries already here today. And so it's a beautiful kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like panoramic view of what it can be like. And we can really get this different idea that, just because we live in different societies, different cultures, different diversities, the true thing that rings in our existence is that we are all human. And really, we all want to be connected and we all want to feel loved and supported. And you being able to be vulnerable and brave and show up in the places you are and really help your community understand how to better support you and all the other autistics in that community. I mean, bravo to you for doing that. And it's so exciting and just really inspiring to have you here today to share those experiences. Before we wrap up, Woods has been fantastic. And where can we go to support you and to show that we want to learn more and help get your community, grow your community as well?
Oh, thank you so much. So, believe it or not, my new and upcoming website, which for the very first time is going to be launching any day now.
Yay.
So my domain name, which the site will be called christianmotivates.com.
Okay.
christianmotivates.com. So keep your ears open. Could be today, could be a day from now, could be a week from now. I don't want to give a exact date, but just to be safe, that's where my big thing to find me on is christianmotivates.com. But also for now, if you want to find me on Instagram, that's one of my main sources. Christian Armstrong _motivates _. That's my handle. You can also find me on LinkedIn, which I know I connect most with Sarah on LinkedIn, and TikTok, Christian Armstrong _84, I believe.
And
you'll be able to find me on TikTok.
I have to go there and look for you. I'm not sure if we're connected on TikTok or not, so I'll definitely have to do that.
Yeah, but those are some of the main places you can find me on social media, and then my website coming very, very soon, which I'm excited about. You'll be able to find merchandise on there too.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I'm really excited. But I will say, once my website launches, once again, thank you so much for having me, Sarah. It's been very appreciative, because if you enjoyed this message, which I hope you have, please, there will be a booking tab, a booking link on my website where I have shared this a lot. Some of the stuff I have shared is actually in my messages that I speak on. So I want to give you a snippet about what I speak about. And some of the stuff I have left out in here because I want to save that for you to want more. And if you like this message, please don't hesitate to book me. Uh, Please share this with all your friends, tag me because I want this message to reach the ends of the earth because autism is such an empowering message where we need to learn more about and we need to see the capabilities and see others succeed because there's a lot of negativity that shouldn't be there in this world today. And the last thing I will say, if you did not like this message, we'd appreciate that if you kept it to yourself.
I love it. Well, I haven't had any bad feedback yet, but I guess now they're open to letting me know. No, just joking. You're so great. Christian, it's been so much fun. I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to take some more time, not feel rushed or anything, and just really be able to, go through all of the things that make up Christian. And it was just such an honor to have you on today. And I'll preface to our audience that there is, a wonderful event that'll be happening next April that I won't give away any details for, but just know that we have extended Christian the invitation to be with us there. So we'll be excited to learn more about him and hear more of the amazing motivations and knowledge and education about autism that you're providing to the world. We're so grateful. And yeah, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
You have a great day. Talk to you soon.